Hey, it's Rick again. This video I want to do just to do some basic maintenance I do on my 2025R. I've already put about 10 hours on it so far this spring, doing some landscaping work and just moving some other stuff around. But some of the other things that I do after I use it for that amount of time is obviously like to keep it clean, although it is a tractor, so they get dirty, they should. And also walk through some of the inspections that I do periodically on it. Everything from engine oil, hydraulic oil, and all the grease fittings on it, as well as just checking out the clearance of the 3-point hitch to the safety bar, tire pressure, all that kind of stuff. So here I go. Again, your comments are always appreciated, and let's get started. dry it off a little bit by hand, and then I'll get the grease gun out, and we'll start doing all the fittings, okay? Okay, so it's actually been a couple of days since the earlier footage that you saw. I'll be washing it. Had some stuff to do. We had some bad weather and rain. I wish it was like when I was washing it the other day, because it's the temperatures here in northern New Jersey have really not much been above the mid-40s, and today we're maybe into the 50s. But I wanted to get this done so you guys could see it. What we're going to be doing now is just what I do my routine maintenance, or at least part of it's the daily checks, but also what I do periodically, especially with about the 10 to 15 hours that I've already put on the machine this spring, starting with all the grease fittings, primarily on the 120R loader. There's 6 on each side. We'll show you, we'll go through that, we'll clean up the existing pivot points where this grease comes out on the hinges, and just go through that process and show you what it is. Check the crankcase oil, we'll check the transmission oil. There's some other checks that I don't know if I'm going to get, how much detail I'll get into you with here, but there's other things I recommend, like checking the torque of these bolts on the loader brace and bracket. Again, have been used this a lot. I don't want to say pounding, but certainly digging dirt, pushing, pulling. They do see some stress and vibration, so it is a chance that they could back out a little bit. Highly unlikely, but you just want to make sure that they are all equal in torque. The other one too is, believe it or not, is the tires, the wheels. Again, they come from the dealer, pretty much set. But again, as you use the tractor, especially new, and like this one only has like 48 hours on it so far, it's always a good thing to check, just to make sure that things are where they are from when it left the factory. We'll walk through some other stuff. I can't think of everything right now that I'll check, but we'll give it a pretty good going over. And so let's get to it, and I'll be talking to you as I go through everything, okay? Okay, so let's start with the easy stuff first. Let's check the oil, of course. This is the fuel filter, fuel water separator sitting right here. That's only recommended to check at about 50 hours, but I still take a look at it. If it needs needs to be cleared out, you're going to see water will definitely settle in the bottom of this filter here. You can see it's pretty good. Of course, the oil filter is located here, and here's the dipstick for the engine. We'll give it a pull, and we'll wipe it down, of course. I actually should have done this with the loader off before I put it on after removing the snowblower, because it's a little easier to reach in here. And let's take a look, and oh yeah, we're fine. Actually, it's a little up, and that's because it's actually been sitting here, and oil is drained down into the pan from the upper part of the engine, the heads. It's been sitting here for about a week and hasn't run since I last washed it. Okay, let's go check the hydraulic oil. Okay, let's give the hydraulic oil a check. This is the dipstick right here. It is a bit of a bitch to get into when you've got the quick, the 3-point matching attachment on, as well as all of the 3-point stuff. But you can kind of snake yourself in here and take a look at it. Let's wipe it down. Again, I expect this to be a little high, only because it's been sitting here, and oil has definitely drained back into the reserve. And let's take a look. And she's good. The other thing I checked for too, clean and bright. Which is good, and it doesn't look like any other particulates or anything else are on it, so we're good to go. And if you do need to add hydraulic oil into the hydraulic pump, into the reservoir, maybe many of you know this, but simply it's under the driver's seat. Simply lift the seat up. After lifting the seat up, the fill cap for the hydraulic oil is right here. Simply unscrew it. It comes up, and best to use a funnel, obviously, to get it in here, because it's just a straight shot right into the hydraulic pump. Again, you don't want to overfill it. It's not good. Strongly recommended or warned about in the owner's manual. So if you do have to add some, add a little bit at a time. Recheck and see where you are before you continue to add any more hydraulic oil. This is hydraulic oil to use. It's right straight from the John Deere dealer. It's the low viscosity high guard, and it's also plainly referenced in the owner's manual. So it's this is stuff you want to use. There is a variety of John Deere oils and lubricants and fluids. You got to make sure you get the right one for this machine. To add engine oil if you need it, obviously you gotta, let's open the hood. A bit of trivia that I found out. This is how you open the hoods now on the 2025 and the 1025R. The trivia I learned is that this is actually a European standard, this kind of latch release. And all you got to do really is just sort of stick this key in, and that releases it, and it lifts it right up. So that's the reason they have it. It wasn't for any other reason than they just standardized the latch release. And if you have to add engine oil, here's the fill right here. It's just a simple, it just unscrews. I haven't had this one off yet since it's new, but just, you know, take it off. Again, funnel recommended because it's just its location, and you know, you don't want to put oil over the engine. Put it in, and of course, just like with the hydraulic oil, add small amounts, check. If you need more, add another little bit, but again, caution is do not overfill, or be careful not to overfill the oil. You're going to have to let some out. You can't run the machine with a high oil level. If you do have to add oil, this is the oil John Deere recommends. It's in their manual. It's specifically for their diesel engines. Keep in mind too that if you look when you're buying oil for it, make sure it is for diesels, because they also have gas engines, and it's a different oil they make for gas engines than they do their diesel engines. Okay, as long as we've got the top up, let me show you some other things I check real quick. One is obviously radiator fluid level, water level. This is the expansion tank and overflow tank. This is where you would add water, or antifreeze if you needed to, not directly to the radiator. This level goes up and down as the tractor's hot and cold. Right now it's cold, obviously, so she's at the right level. And again, just keep an eye on it. And again, being it's brand new, or like I should say, less than 50 hours on it, it's always good to check, because again, levels coming out of the factory is not always what it winds up after it runs a while and kind of breaks itself in. The other thing I also want to check on is the both the air filter mount as well as the exhaust mount. Something to watch out for. At least they've changed the design with the 2025R and the 1025R. In the previous models, this air canister filter was attached on a bracket directly to the engine with a kind of a strap type of clamp holding it into holding it on the mount. There were several videos I saw and other stuff coming off some bulletin boards that some of the 1025s, at least because it was before the 2025 was introduced, or this version of it, were experiencing failures or fatigue of the strap, actually cracking, in some cases all-out failure of the strap, which then it just fell down. It didn't damage anything, but it's not where it's supposed to be. Again, this was after a number of hours. It was very infrequent, but it did happen. It was something that was caution to put out there. So I kind of checked this. This is a whole new design, much more robust, and as you can see, it's just fine here. The other thing I like to do, which might be over the top, is with a damp rag. I do like to wipe the engine down every now and then as well. I like to keep engine compartments clean. I know it's a tractor. Tractors get dirty. They're supposed to. But I just have a thing about I liking to keep engines and engine compartments clean as well. The last thing I forgot. The last thing I also want to say is about the battery. Battery is located forward here in front of the oil cooler. I like to check for voltage. Really, what I like to check for is make sure the alternator is working fine. A simple way to do that is with a voltmeter. While it's off like this, you put the probes on the terminals. Take a look. It should be something between 12.5 and 12.8 volts, sitting like this. Start it up. Again, take out the voltage meter, put it onto the terminals. It should, as a rule of thumb, jump about 2 volts. So you should see something about 14.2, 14.5. And that's good. That's all you're going to get. If you accelerate the engine, or you're not going to get any voltage change, because the voltage regulator prevents that. It's a constant. The battery sees a constant voltage, because you don't want to damage the battery by doing that. So engine RPM really has nothing to do with the alternator and what it's putting out to the battery as far as voltage is concerned. Other than that, just take a look around and what do you see? Anything hanging? Anything anything sticks or something got jammed up in there? I also do stick the alternator's right here. I do stick my hand down in there just to check the belt, make sure it's fine, and it is. And that's pretty much it for what we got to do here. So now let's move on and we'll take a look at the what we got to do to grease up the fittings on the 120R loader, and we'll get that started. Okay, the 120R loader has on each side 6 pivot points. Here, 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 way down here. This one gets forgotten a lot. And of course, right there. What I like to do just before I grease it is I like just to, take a shop rag, shop towels, and just sort of take some time and clean out each one of the grease fittings. That is, it just makes it, well, besides being clean and neat, it also makes it easier to attach the grease gun fitting to it. And I'll show you what kind of grease gun fitting I have. I have one of the clip lock types, which I found much better than the standard, which is just strictly the push-on type. Reason is you could push it on, and then it didn't always want to come off. And I always felt a little awkward about bending or twisting it, trying to get it to pop off. So this is much easier, puts less stress on the actual nipple of the fitting, and it works really well. The downside is there are some fittings that are tough to get at with very small openings, and it's almost impossible. In fact, it is impossible to use that kind of clip thing to stick it in there. So I do have 2 grease guns, and I go back to the more traditional where I can just push it in and I can get the grease in there. So let's get these all clean. They pretty much are. Like I said, the thing's only got 45 hours on it, so. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll just use this one as an example. In addition to cleaning all the nipples, I also like to go in and from the previous greasing, one of the things you're doing is when you grease is you let a little bit squeeze up between the off the joint so you can see that grease has in fact gotten into the joint. What I like to do before I do it again is clean this, get this old grease out of there, and you can see there's some from when it was first done. So just sort of clean this up. Screwdriver's good. You get the schmutz out of there, as they say. Make it as clean as possible. Again, you don't want it, you're not going to get it shiny, obviously, but you don't have as much grease built up, and so you also can see what's, when you go ahead and fill it, it's actually a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest. I'm not going to bore you to death watching me just clean grease up and get it all over myself. This stuff is pretty gooey, I got to tell you. And it should be. It's because the environment this stuff works in. But sometimes this is also overlooked. I heard a great reason why owners of compact tractors or subcompact tractors break things or break them. It's because of 2 things. One is they simply don't read the manual, and I know, like a lot of guys, you get something like this, you take the manual, you throw it on the bench, you look for the keys and say, hey, let's play with it. The other thing is you're doing things with the tractor it wasn't designed to do, or you're using it improperly. And so if you keep that in mind and really do pay attention to the service manual and what it's going to do, and also kind of read how they operate it, learn how to operate it correctly, because you really, it's really amazing how much load you're putting on this machine and what it's capable of doing. And it can get quite expensive real fast. As to if you break something like this and what it takes to get done, and then of course you get all pissed off. And worst is forget the money, forget what happened. Hey, you're going to be without your tractor for maybe a week or 2 weeks at the dealer getting the thing fixed, and that sometimes can be more frustrating. Okay, now let's start, applying grease. This is what I wanted to show you earlier. This is, I got this on Amazon after seeing some videos on it. It's called Lock and Lube. It's a great replacement for for the standard filter, or standard grease fitting, because you see it's got this, it just naturally has got a pullback and really just attaches itself nicely, which is real easy. Like you can see right here. See, it just goes in, it's on. and take it off. No more, you know, the other fittings was, you know, kind of a yanking and twisting. And, you know, I was always concerned, as I said, about breaking that nipple. But it's just really very simple to attach, just like that. And, you know, off you go. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I just wanted to show you, you know, the way I do it. Okay, again, I got it attached. And you just give it a couple of squirts. And I don't know if you can see it, but I've got grease penetrating here, shooting out through the joint. So what I've done there, 2 or 3 shots, that looks pretty good. And I'll go ahead and do the rest. But again, that's what you kind of look for. It's just, you know, just a little bit of grease coming out of the fitting. Knows that you've got pretty much, you're confident that you've got the whole fitting internally well greased and lubed, ready to go. Okay, after greasing it, I didn't think I needed to show you guys how to, you know, put a socket on a torque wrench, set a torque wrench up, and to check, you know, check the bolts. Anyway, what I did do is I did check all the mount bolts here. The John Deere manual says these are between 220 and 225 foot-pounds each, as well as the bolts that are on the frame that hold the main, you know, that hold the main weight of the loader. So you've got 6 going onto the frame, and you have 3 attaching it here. The other thing I check for is the pin bolts that are on the hinges here. These aren't as severe, but they're still about 23 and a half, 24 foot-pounds on those. There is 1, 2, there's 3 that are exposed here. The others are buried in these pin settings, and you can't get to them. The other thing I wanted to say is, you know, the obvious stuff. I look around, you check the hydraulic lines, you look for leaks, you look, you know, just put your hands on things, check it, shake things, you know, just, you know, normal common sense stuff that just will, you know, when you got the tractor on a job, it doesn't, you know, have a breakdown that then holds you up, and you spend more time fixing it or chasing stuff down than you are actually getting the job done. You want to get it done nice and quick so you can get back, you know, back inside and on the couch. Hopefully that's where you're going to be going. Wheels next. I'm going to go check them again. I don't think I need to show you a torque wrench and sockets, but I'm going to check all the bolts on them. Okay, for the tires, for both the front, rear, and for the front, manual says they want to be at 70 foot-pounds. I've gone around and checked, and of course, you know, doing right, I X the pattern, so I take them all down. Good news was none of these were had to be tightened. They all were they're right on the specification. For air pressure, 35 pounds. For the rear, they say up to 40, but I usually use about 35. And then for the front, it's just about 20 pounds. And I just checked them all again. You don't need to see how an air gauge works, but that's all complete. Well, that's pretty much it. Accomplished everything I wanted to get done today. Got it greased, tires checked, bolts checked, oils checked, hydraulic oil is checked. We're all good to go. I did also, you didn't see it, I didn't, you know, waste my time filming it, but I did check the air filter. It's clean. It's not required to be replaced quite yet, so I just blew it out a little bit and left, you know, put it back in, left the old one there. And well, the only thing I didn't show you guys is sometimes, again, for safety, is the rollover support system. The bolts there, again, just because where it sits, the tractor vibrating, it's not a bad idea, especially new, to give a check, make sure they're seated and still tight. They're fine. And other than that, we're ready to go and get some work done. I know you'd like to see me get some work done, because all I've been doing, obviously, is moving blowers around, unstacking it. The day I got it, just unpacking it. Attaching, disattaching the bucket, as well as the my forks, and let's get some work done. I do have some plans, what I got to get in the backyard, which I'm going to show you guys. I've got some trees that I got to get cut up. Our local utility here has been very aggressive in the last couple of years since we've had some storms. We tend to lose power here. I wouldn't say a lot, but frequently, more than I expect. Our street is underground, but where it connects where the street meets up at the head, those are all above ground. Anyway, they've gotten very aggressive, taking down some very large trees, oak, maple, some cherry, and believe it or not, they just left them by the side of the road. I went down to the local DWP here and said, hey, you know, whose are those? Or are you guys going to move them or chip them? And I swear the guy, the manager of the DWP here said, real nice guy, just said, hey, we're hoping residents will just make them disappear. So I've also been doing that. I've been doing some scavenging runs, not so much with the 2025R, but with my Gator. Easier to throw things in the back, haul them home real quick, dump them. So I got those logs to cut up, split them, stack them. Being it's the end of the winter season, I've got my day, I call it my day storage logs, you know, that I use for the house by the back door. In the summertime, I remove that, take those logs, restack them, get all that stuff out, get the patio furniture spread back out. Hopefully with some warm weather, we'll get the cushions back out and, you know, get the back patio commissioned for the summer. In the meantime, I do have to move wood around on the wood pile, so you'll see me do some of that. And I'm also, I'll take in some of the trails that I've got in the backwoods here, where I actually go back and look for fallen trees, and that's where a majority of my wood has come from some fallen trees from all these storms we've had. But really, right now, I've got an abundance of stuff coming from, like I said earlier, from these utility guys, the tree trimmers working for the utility companies here, chopping down these trees and bringing them home. So we'll be doing that here in the next couple of days. And as I always say, this will be continued. Hey, thanks for watching. Comments, always appreciated. I'm getting a lot of good comments. It's great that the kinds of questions I'm getting is very detailed, which is good. You're catching some stuff that I didn't think you would, but you did. And anyway, we'll see you again soon. Thanks.